Some people have concerns with where do you put your bulls during that time of the year, that, you know, in June and July when they're not breeding. We have a pasture that can handle that. I guess that wasn't much of an issue for us, but I could see where that could be for some people. There's some other opportunities, I think, for somebody that's maybe trying to get into the business or a young producer that wants to expand, to kind of leverage some of the seasonal differences in calving in May and June versus March and April. Now, most guys are still calving, you know, earlier, March and April, let's say. Well, and I've recognized this with my own place too. My bulls are unemployed during June and most of July, and all my neighbors' bulls are all busy. And one year, I actually just kind of had an extra pasture with some grass. So I bought some replacement heifers, and I turned my bulls out with them before I turned them out with my own heifers. So I kind of got, those bulls were able to cover twice as many animals because we had, you know, 2 different seasons, but those bred heifers I sold. And, you know, bulls are an expensive thing. They got to have a place to live. Maybe the best way to go about it would be to partner up with somebody that does calve earlier, and he needs a place for his bulls after he takes them out of the herd.
We like a 4-frame bull with no more than 16 on a milky PD. That's, you know, those are the kind of things we look for, and yeah, and we've seen progress in going for that goal.
With my bull management, I've found a bull breeder that basically has the same ideals as I do, and where they have the May and June calving, and the cows do a lot of grazing into the winter time. He's not pushing the milky PDs. I've learned, I used to always push the milky PDs looking for that heavier calf, and realizing that that's not the most productive cow that's doing that. So I've toned down my milky PDs and the bulls. When you drive by there in the summer, in June and July especially, because that used to be the time we'd always turn our bulls out, and you see the bulls in that pasture and they don't get turned out until August, and you're thinking they're just standing there not doing anything, or besides eating, they're not working, they're not making me money. But then realizing that, you know, once August comes along, yeah, they will. So it's a mindset of just realizing or getting over the fact that, you know, they're not doing anything, but they are. It's just everything gets moved back. It's just recognizing the importance and the reason why I'm waiting until August to turn them out.
When we're basically looking at a hands-off calving, when we're doing May-June calving out on pasture, I don't want to have to assist anything. I tell everybody too, so calving knees, no matter bulls, cows, whatever, or heifers or cows, whatever it is, I want to make sure that I have calving knees genetics in the bull battery. And it's extremely important that the bulls are quiet, that they breed quiet calves, that they are the sires to the cows that will be quiet, and that there's no assistance needed for the calving. Eastern South Dakota, we have very high humidity in the early summer parts, especially June, especially the first part of July. It can get drier in August, and it can stay a little bit moist, but not like the 70s and 80% humidity and being 75 to 95 degrees. So questions always asked to me, isn't it, if you're turning out on the 1st of August, isn't it too hot for the bull? And I said, the heat doesn't bother me, the humidity bothers me. Humidity and heat is what kills cattle in feedlots, not just the heat. And so by the time August comes, the humidity starts to decrease, That allows the evenings to cool down. There may not be much activity with the bulls during the daytime, but at nighttime, it supports whatever they want to do.
We did do quite a bit of AI to get the cow herd built up, you know, to get the females and one in there. Then we synchronized the cows. So we just used mostly cleanup bulls then. Now we breed everything with the bulls. I think keeping them younger, you know, you get them big older bulls, the big heavy bulls, and they do in the hot part of the summer like to lay under the tree. The younger bulls are more aggressive. I think that's probably a trait of all males of all species, probably. I'm not sure. But we haven't had those issues that some people talk about. I mean, we have open cows. There's no doubt about that for a variety of reasons. But I don't think that we have any more, or probably not any less either, than when we bred at cooler times of the so-called year.
Now, it wasn't easy to talk myself into waiting to turn the bulls out until August 1st. So I had that picture of those calves in that snowbank on my cell phone. And whenever I went to make a phone call, that picture would light up and it would remind me, yes, June 20th is not the day to turn bulls out anymore.
When it comes to managing bulls, we actually raise most of our own. And so they grow up in our environment. They are born at the same time as all our other calves are born. So they don't get any special treatment that way. And we have enough of them that we don't use them the first year generally, unless it's really late in the season. So we'll let them run over a year and not use them for breeding. And so we get to watch their development. We get to cull the ones that aren't kind of fitting what we want to see in a bull. And so by the time we use them, they're 2 years old, or nearly. Yeah, we manage bulls a lot like we manage our other animals. We do have good fences, but it does take management. And we get back to that again. It's just sitting down, going through our maps and our grazing plan. You know, we have a year-round grazing plan, and so we run our bulls. We move them just like we move everything else, but we just make sure that there's at least 2 fences between them and any cows. And so far, we've not had a problem since we started calving later. I don't think we've had a bull get in with any of our animals at this point. So it does take more management. We might move 3 or 4 groups in one day, and the next day we might not move any. But those bulls we keep on the move, and we not only have to make sure they're not up against our cows, but they're not against any neighbors either. So it does take more management. When we went to the 25th of May and finally decided that that was our best time period, then we just put the bulls out for less time. I mean, it was as simple as that. And so we do sell some open cows on the end, you know, that didn't get bred. But when you develop your heifers really cheaply, I mean, you don't put any money to developing them, you can replace those cows that you sell at a very reasonable cost. But our greatest cost is the cost of what that heifer was the day we put the bull in with her. You know, that was her value going into our cow herd for the most part. And then most of our marketing is based around forage and time. You know, what's time to a steer or a heifer.
Most of the land around us is being farmed, which to me is a big help in one aspect, is because like being calving late, you always have a problem with the neighbor's bulls. Well, when you got cornfields, you don't have to worry about neighbor's bulls.
Managing our bulls used to be pretty tough when we first did this, because they're wanting out. They know when it's time to go out. But when we back them up, after 2 or 3 years of not letting them out till August, it's not as hard anymore. And once in a while we find one that he likes to go wandering and stuff. He usually ends up being sold. I'm not going to put up with that. If they walk through our electric fence, we don't keep them around because we can't trust them for one thing. But the managing the bulls has been a lot easier since we use electric fence. And my comment is, if you can't keep a bull in and he's a really good bull, get a hotter energizer. They will keep him in.
The only thing would be is, you know, I'm still out of sync with a lot of my neighbors and friends because they're still calving early, you know. I have to keep everybody else's bulls out of my cows, you know, because you're in the middle of summer, you still haven't turned them out. And when you calve late, your cows are not going to be with bulls till, say, the 1st of August. So you have to make sure that your neighbor's bulls don't get in your cows. But with where we rotationally graze, we can keep them away with electric fence. If I got to be up against a neighbor, I'll just go 15 feet in and run a poly so my cows won't go over there. And so it makes it fairly easy that way. But it's something you have to think about if you throw all your cattle in against, and you got bulls all around you, it's something you have to think about.
It was a learning experience for sure to go that much at one time, but I'd never do it any other way, and I'd never go back. There were things that I knew I had to work out when I decided to back my calving off. I knew I would have problems keeping my bulls home and keeping the neighbors' bulls home for those 2 months.